All right, once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast Talking Auburn Football. Go ahead and like this video, comment, and subscribe to Vernon Speaks Sports Auburn. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger War Eagle. Of course, the biggest game of the season for both teams, LSU and Auburn this weekend. A lot of variables, a lot of stuff that we've talked about over the course of the week. And, we talked about the fact that Auburn just really has to be successful in some key areas in order to have an opportunity here. Now, I'm not going to, just overly exaggerate the greatness of LSU or undermine how good Auburn potentially can be in this particular football game. Now, when I talk about success, especially when you talk about on the road to Baton Rouge, success does not equate wins. That's not what I'm talking about, because Auburn hasn't beaten LSU in Baton Rouge since 1999. So that's not the premise of what we're talking about here. What we're talking about is some of the variables that have helped Auburn at least come to within reach of beating LSU in these particular games in Baton Rouge. One of those things have been at least decent quarterback play. And you look over the years, there are some guys that have had some pretty good games against LSU. Jarrett Stidham, for one, Nick Marshall in the second half against LSU back in 2013. Then, other guys who have really had at least a somewhat decent level of success. You can trace that back to pretty decent quarterback play for the Auburn Tigers. But most important, though, is the play of the running backs and the running game. Because when you look over the years, the closer games in this particular series, you can usually find a pretty decent game by the running back. Okay, you look back in 2005. Kenny Irons told y'all straight up, hey, I'm going to have 200 yards in this game. And sure enough, in one of the most dominating performances from a running back in the Auburn-LSU rivalry history, Kenny Irons had 218 yards and a very memorable long run in that particular game. And Auburn actually took that game was pushed into overtime, where Auburn lost that game 20-17. There's been a lot of close games, a lot of last-minute losses here for Auburn in this particular game. In 2007, Auburn came within 6 points of beating LSU, losing that game 30-24. That year, Brad Lester and Ben Tate actually combined for close to 100 yards, which isn't much. But they were able to sustain drives. They were able to keep themselves in the game with the running game. Also in 2013, in a very, very good second half. And this kind of served as a catalyst in 2013 for what Auburn was going to be able to do down the stretch. In that particular game, Trey Mason had 132 yards. And in that game, Auburn outscored LSU 21-14 in that second half. And it really gave Auburn a boost of confidence playing on the road. And, really was a nice, like I said before, catalyst for what was to come down the stretch. And in 2017, probably one of the most gut-wrenching losses in recent history between Auburn and LSU down in Baton Rouge was the situation where Auburn got up to a nice lead and then subsequently lost that game 27-23. But a big part of that success was the running ability of Kerryon Johnson, who had 31 carries for 156 yards and 1 touchdown. Now, that's why we continue to talk about why the running game in this particular football game this weekend is going to be particularly important. Because, number one, it can open some things up for the passing game. If Bo Nix, Bo Nix just couldn't get a running game going in the Florida game. Well, Auburn couldn't get a running game going in the Florida game. So that puts a lot of pressure on your quarterback. I'm done with the whole true freshman thing because he's not a true freshman no more. He's been in some very adverse situations, probably some more adverse situations than some quarterbacks in 2 years of play would have been in. So we're going to take the true freshman shirt off of Bo Nix at this point. But either way, I think in order for Bo Nix to have confidence in this game, the running game has to be very effective. I'm talking about 3 to 4 yards per carry, maybe 5. I think Auburn has the ability to do this, especially with guys like DJ Williams who get yards after contact. Also, Harold Joyner. I'm really liking the possibility of Harold Joyner in this particular football game and could pay dividends for the Tigers. Now, if you look at the games where it was just absolutely terrible for Auburn, you can trace it back to ineffective running. 2009 lost 31-10. Ben Tate only had 67 yards. In 2011, one of the more talented running backs in recent Auburn history, Michael Dyer, in a 45-10 game against LSU down in Baton Rouge, only had 60 yards. And we all remember the 2015 debacle down in Baton Rouge with Jeremy Johnson, where Leonard Fournette for LSU just had his way with Auburn. Jeremy Johnson actually led all rushers. I think he had about 45 yards in that game. So you trace most of the lopsided wins that LSU has had in Baton Rouge to a lack of a running game. And that's something that just absolutely has to happen. Auburn has to commit early to the run and the short intermediate passing game and get some rhythm. I think if Auburn can get some rhythm, that defense will get the confidence to make the stops that they need to make in order for Auburn to have an opportunity to win this particular football game. This would be monumental for Auburn if they can find a way to win this game, because this one would be up there with Gus Malzahn and the Auburn troops in 2017 winning against Georgia and Alabama, two number one teams within a 3-week span. This is the type of game that this is. So Auburn this will be a huge opportunity for Gus Malzahn to solidify his stamp, and for the seniors who came back to justify why they came back. I mean, you don't come back to lose, and this game is the main reason why you come back. Once again, it's Kennard Vernon Stewart here for the podcast talking Auburn football. LSU game week is upon us. A couple of days. Like this video, comment, and subscribe to the channel. And as always, it's great to be an Auburn Tiger. War Eagle.